Keir Starmer's difficulty is not one problem, but four that are starting to reinforce one another. Collapsing public approval, fiscally painful budgets coming up, a ragged party management, and the drip of small integrity stories that make him look like every other bad politician put together. They explain why Labour MPs are now gaming out whether he could be replaced. Or rather, they're not gaming out whether he could be replaced, they're gaming out when he could be replaced and how. And the plotting is still soft and technical, but it's not murderous yet, which is why he is still in the chair. But the atmosphere is plainly different from the first months of his premiership. First, the numbers. A Labour government that was elected only 16 months ago is now running fourth in at least one poll, behind Reform UK, the Greens and the Conservatives. That's extraordinary, not least because it tells MPs in marginal seats that they could go from landslide winners to one-term footnotes. If you sit in for an English new town or a suburban Scottish seat and you see Reform on 30-something, Greens in the high teens and Labour stuck in the mid-teens, you start to think about self-preservation and not party loyalty. MPs have clocked this, that this is not mid-term grumpiness, it is fragmentation, and it's the return of choice, and it's happening faster than anyone in number 10 expected. Second, the budget is about to make everything harder. Rachel Reeves has been trailing measures that will in practice break Labour's totemic promise not to raise the main taxes. Even if she tries to do it with clever switches between income tax and national insurance or by pinching higher paid pension contributions, the public will hear only one thing: Labour is putting taxes up because the money has run out. That would be awkward for a popular Prime Minister. It's dangerous for one whose personal ratings are already below where Boris Johnson's were when the Tory MPs pushed him out. Reeves's package will hit some of Labour's own new voters in the south and the commuter belts, and the party knows this and is already fretting in public. When your new deputy leader is warning you not to break the manifesto, that is not a good week. Third, the party management point. The PLP, the Parliamentary Labour Party, is very large, very new and not very loyal. Many of them were selected centrally in Starmer's image. That was meant to guarantee discipline. It has had the opposite effect because they are not tribal, they have not sat through years of opposition, they are much quicker to say no. And they see the same polls as everyone else. They think they may get only one term, so why, they ask, should they vote for a budget that damages them in 2026? This is why the smoking room conversations described by the newspapers today are important. People are no longer merely grumbling about Starmer's tone. They are actively gaming out timing and rules about how to replace him. That is phase 2 of discontent. Fourth, the small scandals. On their own, things like Lisa Nandy's failure to spot a conflict of interest in appointing David Cogan to chair the football regulator would be a one-day story. In a week, when the Chancellor is prepping a tax rise, when you've just restored the whip to MPs you suspended over welfare, when your Justice Secretary has had to explain an embarrassing prisoner release, it becomes a pattern. It lets your opponents say, you said you would clean it up and you haven't. It also hands ammunition to Labour MPs who already think number 10 looks closed, prefers its own, and doesn't rate the Parliamentary Labour Party. So why is Starmer not about to be toppled? Because Labour remembers 2016. The Cabinet is scarred by the Corbyn years and knows that once you let your MPs start pulling the leadership thread, the whole jumper comes apart. To mount a formal challenge, you need 80 nominations. That's a high bar for a parliamentary party where nearly everyone secretly wants to be leader. The likely next generation of contenders was part of the project that got Labour into office. None of them wants to be the person who wrecked the project. And there is no single unarguable alternative in the Commons. The only figure the polls say would move votes is Andy Burnham, who is not even in Parliament. That is why the plotting is moving towards the idea of a post-May push, triggered by bad results in Scotland, Wales and English councils, when MPs can point to evidence and say, we tried. Until then, the Cabinet can say, we are not going to look like the Conservatives in 2022. But of course, the problem with pushing for post-May is that the Conservatives will do exactly the same. So they will look like the Conservatives. Starmer does still have cards. He's tightening his parliamentary operation. He is making himself more visible in the tea rooms. He can lean on the fact that he purged the Corbynites and made the party electable. Some members will rally to him out of instinct if they think he is being bullied. He can also try to turn his lack of glamour into an asset in the Gordon Brown style, but that only works if he can show visible near-term delivery on something voters care about. At the moment, the headlines are about tax, a misjudged appointment, and a prison system that cannot even keep hold of an offender. That is not a good news mix. So, Starmer is being squeezed from above by fiscal reality, from below by a restive parliamentary party, from the side by small ethics stories, from outside by a public that stopped giving him the benefit of the doubt. The MPs are not yet in open revolt because there is no easy procedural path and no obvious successor, but they have crossed the psychological line from grumbling to planning, and if the November budget lands badly, and if May 2026 or earlier devolved tests are poor, the argument that he is a net drag on Labour rather than the man who saved it will gain force. And that is the problem he has to solve in the next few weeks. If he cannot, he will survive only because removing him is hard, and because his party doesn't know quite what to do, and he won't survive because his party thinks he's winning. He will survive because it's too complicated to get rid of him. That is the bottom line.